Hey, what's up to our sidekicks and henchfolk out there in the Geek Nation? You're currently tuning into the Adjectiveless Cult Pop Podcast, episode 43, a show where we talk about comics and movies and TV shows and the multiverse and all the other things that scratch your nerdy itch. I'm your host, Johnny Destructo. I have a comic book store. It's in Manayunk. Go to it. We're coming to you live from Young Junk HQ, a bomb-ass podcast production space in Manayunk, Pennsylvania. I'm your infinite variation of hosts, Johnny Destructo, which I just said.
You did.
But with me this week is...
Oh, it's me, Brian.
Several Brians.
Brian Lieb. Several, yeah.
And
not all of them.
At least 6 Lens.
And we all holler at you.
Also in the booth is 19 of our trusty producers, all wearing one trench coat. Dylan the Great.
It's so hot in this trench coat. I'll tell you what. All 19 of us in here.
I imagine.
It's getting sweaty.
Heats. Yeah. And it's wool.
Yeah, why would you put on a wool? Never mind. Feel free to comment, like, subscribe, do all that nasty, dirty stuff that we like. You can chat with us like Robert Monroe Jr. is doing on the big screen. What's up, Cult Poppers? Oh, what's up?
Oh, not too much. This and that. What's going on with you?
Len?
I was talking.
What's up?
How are you doing?
What
happened?
Great. I'm answering the question. What's up?
Not much.
Nothing.
What's up with you, Robert?
That's the way we do a show.
Yeah.
All right, so let's move on to my favorite segment, which I lovingly call "What Have You Been Up To This Week?" I'm going to kick us off with probably Len, because right next to his name I've got 2 question marks. Hey, Len, what you been up to this week? Did you prepare for this segment?
What have you been doing?
Well,
Not much.
unbeknownst to you,
I do not beknownst it.
you don't beknownst it. I did. Because I've been up to things.
Yeah, you do stuff.
I do stuff.
Yeah.
I'm not like, I'm smart.
Smart people do
Not
stuff.
dumb like they say. I'm smart and I want respect.
Dumb people do stuff too. Just saying.
Yeah, true, they do.
Yeah.
They do dumb things.
Usually me.
They
usually
you?
do me. Yeah.
Oh.
Because they're dumb. They don't know any better. Go ahead.
Case in point, his wife. So we...
Wow. Double
gonna
insult.
Kick your ass.
Oh, man.
I better hope she's not watching. Go ahead. Just insulted my wife.
Yeah. And, well, you too at the same time.
To be fair, it's not real. I think it's not really an insult to my wife.
It was
It's an
to
insult
you.
to me.
Yeah.
The fact that
was
she...
definitely how it was intended.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shit. All
Yeah,
right.
she knows.
Okay. All right.
She would say, no, he really was talking about you,
Yeah.
honey.
Shit.
That's a good
Took me
point.
too long to get that.
I'm good. She probably just sent a text. But no, what I've been up to, I'm glad you asked exactly what I've been up to, because what I have been up to is that I've been in the midst of rewatching, for some strange reason, Hogan's Heroes.
Oh,
Interesting.
of all
Hogan's
of the
Heroes.
shows.
I know, of all the shows, right?
Huh. Okay.
And here's the curious thing about Hogan's Heroes. For people that don't know about this 50-year-old show,
I was gonna say anyone under the age of 60, go. Let them know.
It's about a group of American soldiers who were captured in World War II, and they are prisoners in a German POW camp, from which they run an underground operation to sabotage the German war effort. And as I have learned watching, I'm now deep into season 2 of this. And remember, this is back in the 60s when seasons of television were about 30 shows a season.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Deep into season 2, I'm amazed that they are still sabotaging the German war effort every single episode.
Yeah.
And no one catches on.
Mhm.
I mean, they have spies going in and out of the camp. They have actually built and flew a plane out of the POW camp. They've stolen a map. They've blown up the same bridge 20 times.
They just keep rebuilding that bridge.
And yet the Germans keep coming to Stalag 13 and keep going to the commandant and say, keep this under your hat, Clink. This is a secret. And it always gets out.
And why would they even bring that information to the
To a
prisoner of war
POW
camp?
camp.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, we just like everyone to know about our secrets. but only us.
We're just terrible at keeping secrets. We're
It makes
so
no sense.
excited about our plan. We got to tell everybody.
It's such a good plan.
It's like the POW camp is the only German office.
Yeah,
Like
everything has to go through. Yeah, middle management.
I'm like, what the hell is going on here? And this is a show that ran for 5 years.
Oh man. Well, people loved at that time, especially seeing the Nazis get beat. Right?
I'm still
There's
into it.
nothing funny about being locked in a POW camp when you think about it.
Do they
of course not.
still so you said they escaped and they blow up bridges, but then they always come back?
Well, see, they don't escape
Mhm.
because they are part of the underground.
Are they put
Right.
there on purpose in the beginning, or do they just make use of a situation and then like
They
build?
No, they actually ultimately got caught.
Yeah.
But then once they
Oh,
get
okay.
caught,
They
they
were like, hey,
develop
we can-
like this.
Yeah.
This is even better.
Like this
Yeah.
crew.
They keep bringing their secret plans here.
I just really want to blow that bridge up
Yeah.
a lot.
Dude, they've got. I mean, like, it's one thing to like dig tunnels.
Yeah.
These dude, they got like apartment complexes there
It's a whole
underneath the
ant
joint.
farm underneath.
Yo, dude,
Smoking jackets and record players. Well, thank you for coming to my
if you
event.
if you
Yeah.
watch like a German like a World War II movie that talks about escape, like Stalag 17,
Yeah.
upon which this TV show is loosely based.
Yeah.
And they talk about like digging tunnels, right?
Yeah.
Then there may be 1 or 2 tunnels.
Yeah.
Hogan's Heroes, they'd be like, all right, take him out of tunnel number 20. The one out by the cement pond.
Yeah.
Like they got like their own radio joint that they shoot up there, turn on the radio. You see the guy turning on the radio, and then you cut to the flag on top of the German office.
Yeah.
Where an antenna just rises up out of the flagpole. They've got a periscope that comes out of a water barrel.
That's amazing.
It's
Of all, and I can only assume that there are hijinkeries.
oh my
Oh,
god.
it's the whole show.
Oh my
Yeah.
god. It's a
Yeah.
The
comedy.
one guy knows nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing. It's hilarious.
Now, do you
What
know?
a strange,
Right.
place to set your comedy.
Well, I think
It's
you
neat,
know,
though.
I was sort of joking before. Well, I wasn't joking, but it was pointing something out. But I think it really did play into it. Is that there's the target audience of that show had been in the war.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Probably
yeah,
right.
yeah,
So they
yeah.
came home and
It's
they
for
liked
them.
watching
Yeah.
those people get made the fool like
Yeah.
all the time and losing all the time. Which you had mentioned, Len, like they get away with everything. Had you guys heard that it was a condition of what was his name, Werner Klemperer, who played Colonel Klink?
Werner Klemper. Yes.
Who's Jewish,
Mhm.
and he it was a condition that Klink never win.
Yes. Yes.
So, like he never gets one over on them.
Huh.
Nothing
Yeah,
ever.
yeah.
Yeah.
Where this? It sounds great. I mean, I'm aware of it. I've never watched it, but I've always been sort of.
You never
aware of
even
it.
watched it when it was back in syndication?
Nah. Like what would you? Nick at Night.
Yeah.
No, I've never really watched it.
It's on Freevee.
Freebie. Okay, cool.
I would-
Yeah.
when
That
I-
sounds. I would at least want to watch the first episode.
I would see Hogan's sometimes in the paper TV guides that you would get. And
Oh
I'd be
yeah, I
like,
remember those.
oh, nice. And it was Hogan's Family.
Oh,
Like,
that's
ah,
right. Yeah.
Is that a?
It's a different
Spin-off
show.
or completely
no,
different?
it is
No, no,
unrelated.
Hogan's. Do you know what Hogan's Family was?
I never heard of it.
Hogan's Family was Valerie Harper, who used to be Rhoda on the Mary Tyler Moore show.
Okay.
She got a show of her own, like actually her second show. And I think it was called
It was called Valerie.
It was called Valerie.
Before, yeah.
and it was basically like a family comedy,
Oh, okay.
right? She got into a contract dispute with the company, so they fired her, and then they rejiggered the show and called it the Hogan's Family.
Oh, without her.
Yeah.
Without her.
Oh,
Yeah.
kind of like Roseanne.
Yeah. And
Wow.
do you know who's the other person, the other famous person to come out of that show?
Nope.
Was her son, played by Jason Bateman.
Oh,
Really?
no kidding.
Ah,
Oh,
how
cool.
about that?
I love Jason Bateman.
Oh, he's
Yeah.
He's been a
phenomenal.
favorite of mine since I was a child.
Teen Wolf 2.
Teen Wolf 2.
That's cool.
Freaking love that movie.
Yeah.
Robert Monroe Jr. says, I know someone who was in the Korean War who never watched MASH
Yeah.
because he said that nothing that happened over there was funny.
Yeah,
Well, that's
makes
true.
sense.
But that's
Yeah.
to be fair, that's the Korean War. That's not the German War. But you're right. There was definitely some pushback.
Yeah.
Sure.
And people, it doesn't wear well
Mhm.
when you think about it.
Yeah.
But to your point, the Germans never win.
Right.
It's all about them getting to come up and
Yeah.
you know, that's what it was. It was a product of its time.
I would like to see that though. That sounds
watch like a couple
at least
episodes.
interesting. A nice little time capsule. Brian,
Are you sure you don't want to tell us what you've been up to this week, huh?
I was throwing it to you to ask me.
Hey, JD.
Hey,
Are you sure that you don't want to tell us what you've been up to
I'll
this
tell you
week?
what I've
huh?
been up to this
Okay.
week. So, for this week and several weeks in the past, I have been watching the Super Mario Brothers movie.
Oh, I haven't seen that.
I have.
Me either. Yeah.
So many times. So, I don't know if we talked about it on the show, but I had seen Super Mario Brother in the theater when it first released, and I walked out of the theater just sort of like
okay,
a bit of a shrug, like, oh, all right, I watched that. At least I got popcorn out of it. That was nice. A nice little birch beer or whatever. And I felt like it was lacking something. It felt a little lame. Like, it didn't really feel like it had any layers to it. But my son loves Mario and Luigi. One of his words that he says right now is not a word, DG, but we know he's saying Luigi.
right.
And for Mario, he just says, So it's
DJ.
DG.
Nice.
So he's got a like a Luigi plushie doll and a Mario plushie doll, and then we also got him the little hard action figures from the movie. Luigi comes with a light, what do you call it? A flashlight, and Mario comes with a plunger.
Nice.
And he just always has them. He's either holding the two of the plushies or two of the figures. Anyway, I've seen this movie so many goddamn times in the past several weeks because it's just on repeat. And I have grown to fall in love with this movie.
That's what happens.
And it kind of, what's it called? When you are kidnapped?
Oh, Stockholm Syndrome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stockholm Syndrome.
Yep.
And it's so much better than my first reaction allowed it to be. I went into that movie expecting a multi-layered, for adults, for children.
Yes.
It works on multiple,
Like Barbie.
like
but
Barbie, but
Like
well,
Spider
Mario.
Sense.
more like Spider-Verse,
Spider-Verse,
more like,
right.
Oh, okay.
specifically, I would say Lego. The Lego
Okay,
movie,
yeah.
right?
Okay. Yeah.
Where I went into that movie being like, they made a fucking Lego movie? How are you going to make oh, okay. That's brilliant. That's amazing and hilarious. And it's got so many layers to it. But this is just like when I was a kid and it was the Care Bears movie. And the Care Bears went up against, what was it, Captain Coldheart?
I suppose.
Sure. And it was just the good guys versus the bad guys. And they had an adventure and then they won the day. And that was the end of the movie.
Exactly.
It's like that, but slightly more hilarious. There are some really good bits in the Super Mario Brothers movie. And I felt like I should have publicly apologized to Mario and his brother, Luigi Mario, for besmirching their good name. They're a heck of a pair of brothers. And that was it. I just was like, I shit on this movie when it came out and I was wrong. So
You watched it through the eyes of your son.
Yes.
Which
Who
are the
loves
intended
it?
eyes.
Yeah.
Right.
And it changes your whole thing. When my grandson came, the first time my grandson came to stay with me, and, I have to find something, late at night, time to go to bed. What are we going to watch? My daughter said he loves Backyardigans.
Oh, I've heard of it, but
Which is basically like these anthropomorphic animals. They're like friends, and they go in their backyard and they have make believe adventures.
Oh.
Right. It basically is Muppet Babies, but for this generation.
That's cool.
right.
fun. I used to love the Muppet Baby.
Oh, me
Right.
too.
But this was,
Oh.
but this is like computer animated because
Yeah.
that's
That's the thing.
the thing. So I'm watching it with them, and I'm like, this is just the Muppet Babies. And it's not quite as good as the Muppet Babies because they're singing these god awful songs, and this hippo is dancing and bouncing and getting on my nerves. But he's stuck loving it.
Yeah.
Well, by hour 12 with the Backyardigans, I was like,
Look at that.
Bouncing around that hippo.
look at that hip hippo. Be yourself. Dance,
got a lot
girl.
going on
there.
That's right, man. I'm with you. Go ahead, girl. And then, of course, the next day it was, what's that? Those superhero,
Oh, and they all like all single color costumes.
yeah.
I don't know what they're called, but I've seen the toys.
Oh, what's the name of it? Dylan knows. He's young.
He has no idea. He's like, what the?
Dylan, come on.
I would know it. I would know. But anyway, the next day it was
Blue's
them.
Clues.
It's not Blue's Clues. Shut up. It's not
You don't know.
Mighty Morphin Power Rangers.
No.
And they all have like the same costume with
Yeah.
Mighty Morphin Power Rangers.
They're like animal
there's
spirits,
no white
animal
diamonds in their
tones, or
costume.
something like that. Anyway,
Yeah.
but the next day was watching them for hours, and I was like, okay, these are kind of cool kids.
Yeah.
That's what happens, man.
They suck you in.
They suck you in. Dog.
Speaking of late night viewing, this wasn't part of my thing, but and also older viewing shows, Twilight Zone.
the original.
Oh.
I am going through the first season of the Twilight Zone.
Such good stuff.
My family went to bed. I wanted to put on something spooky related, like kind of horror-ish, but also like a half hour.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, you know what? I never really watched. It's wonderful.
You had never like watched when they do like the New Year's Eve. They used to do
yeah.
all the. Wow, I would have thought that would have been right up your alley.
Yes, it is. You are correct.
Yes.
It just didn't. Yeah, my alley. I did not get to that particular alley until recently.
Which any like great episodes that stand out?
I'm only on episode like 3 or 4.
Okay.
The first one is the guy who comes into a small town and everyone's gone.
Yes.
But like cigars are still smoking. A burger is still on the
like
grill.
they just left. Right.
Yeah, like everyone was here a second ago.
Yeah.
And then the reveal of that was awesome. I love the reveal, which I won't spoil.
You can't spoil it.
Well, there's
70-year-old.
probably people out there who you should watch the Twilight Zone is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
A lot of people have a hang up of it's so old and it's black and white and it's probably out of date, but it's
very
the
good.
social commentary in that show
Oh my
is
God.
so good. Still prescient.
Yes.
Well, that
Or
and
was
Star
prescient.
Trek, right?
Probably still prescient.
No, it's still
Maybe.
prescient.
Yeah.
In the future, it's going to be the same.
That and Star Trek both were done to advance, moral messages and commentary that
It was woke.
yes, that they didn't think the censors would allow, so they both used allegory in different ways. And did you ever hear the story of like how Rod Serling the first glimmer of the idea of the show? So he was in an airport and he saw somebody from behind in the same suit he was wearing with I think the same hat and the same head, and he had a briefcase.
Which
and he
probably
looked-
happened a lot back then.
Yeah, probably.
Like everyone
right.
wore the same fucking shirt.
But
it was black and white.
exactly. You could barely tell. This happened to him 5 times every day. But this time, so he had like the same briefcase, and he was like, "Is that me?"
Yeah.
And that was he was like, "Oh, I should do a show about weird stuff like that."
Yeah.
And it's excellent, and many of them adapt sci-fi short stories from that time.
Oh,
which
yeah?
is also cool. Yeah,
Because
yeah.
I heard that he had written them all.
He didn't write them all. He wrote most of them.
That's impressive.
And some of the writers, he got some of the top writers of the day
Yeah.
to write some.
Did Harlan Ellison?
I think he wrote-
right? Did
I
a
think-
couple.
I think
He
he
definitely
did a
did that
couple.
or Outer Limits, but
I think he
it was-
wrote a couple of them. I think he wrote more Outer Limits.
Okay,
though.
yeah,
Yeah.
and Star Trek.
Another one I
Star Trek.
enjoyed is there's an actress who is past her prime. She was a really popular actress in the 30s, but now it's the 50s, and all she does is stay in her. She has a mansion and everything, and she's well off, and she just stays in her own little study and watches her old movies from 25 years ago on one of the old projectors, and refuses to come out. And she just keeps wishing it was more like it was 25 years ago, and
What happens
that
there?
ends.
She got stuck in the movies.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought
Yeah,
she
that's
might.
what
Yeah,
happens.
I
yeah,
don't-
they
didn't
come in
remember
and
it,
she's
but
actually
yeah.
up on the screen
Yeah.
in the movie when they turn on the projector, and
Yeah.
she's actually like interacting with them
Hmm.
in real life, but from the
Oh,
from the
that's
screen.
interesting.
Yeah, it was real cool.
Yeah.
It's a great show. I'm really excited to watch more of them.
You know,
They're
one of the
great.
best narrators in television
Oh
history.
yeah. Oh,
Rod Serling's narration.
what was
Cool.
wrong with his upper lip?
I don't know. Anything?
Watch him talk. He always his upper lip looks like it's been glued to his
Thought
teeth.
he just looked cool. Like he's just
Watch
doing
him.
it. All right.
Every time because it's always a close up of him.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Telling you next week on Twilight Zone we'll talk about this, or we'll show you this, whatever.
Oh,
and he
yeah?
always has
Or maybe he just didn't have a lip.
maybe
Maybe.
there's no lip. Robert Monroe says the original Twilight Zone. Those shows were great.
Yes.
Wait until you see The Monsters Are Due on Maple
Ooh.
Street.
That is such a good
Yes.
episode.
One of
That
my
is
favorite
a
episodes.
great episode.
Yeah.
Oh,
Dylan likes
Dylan's
it too.
shaking a finger.
That is a great
Don't
episode.
spoil it. I'm excited.
Oh no.
No.
I'm
Oh,
gonna watch
there's
it.
man. I could go down the
Oh, there's
rabbit
a lot.
hole. There's a famous episode with Burgess Meredith.
Yes.
Oh, is this the one?
We were talking about it the other day.
with-
Yeah.
I had time. It's not
Yes,
fair.
I had time. And
Yeah.
I know the end of
Yeah.
so many. I think
Yeah,
so
some of
many
you
of
know-
these have been
probably know that-
spoiled by
Yeah.
like Family Guy
Right.
because they'll just reenact the entire.
So many
Yeah.
parody.
Yeah.
Futurama has a parody of that
Yeah.
one. There's
There's the one where I guess someone is in like a world of ugly people and she.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
That's a
Everyone's like the
real
pig
famous
face.
one.
Yeah.
That's a real famous
What do you mean? She looks beautiful. We're all walking around here looking like pigs. Remember the Norm Macdonald Saturday Night Live? Like they unwrap her and everyone's like, "Oh, she's hideous." She's like, "What are you talking about?" we're abominations. She's gorgeous.
I have to watch that video.
Yeah.
That movie is so sad.
The one that you're talking about.
Yeah. Yeah.
It is.
Anyway, I'm sorry. Brian, what have you been up to this week, huh?
I'll tell you what, JD. We're doing, as I think you know,
Uh-huh.
an episode about the multiverse and some of our favorite alternate reality stories, right? So I thought it would be cool to look into the history of that in fiction, right? And maybe a little bit not in fiction.
Oh,
So that's
right.
what you've been up to.
Huh,
this is what
yeah.
he's been up to. Yeah.
That's one of the things that I've been up to.
Okay.
I was up to it. So anyway, we've got from like way back, ancient Greece, sometimes people would tell stories about a world that was different and it gets listed, but they are not alternate reality stories, right? They're like, I mean, I guess they kind of are, but they're not alternate histories. Anyway, we fast forward to H.G. Wells, something called A Modern Utopia in 1905 is the first time in fiction that people are specifically transported to an alternate world. Or in this case, actually, no, they are transported to an alternate world that was primarily a way of him showcasing his social and political views, this utopia that had been 3,000 years more advanced than our own. But it was an alternate reality, right? That people from our world went to. Okay. So that is the first one, other than those older histories, that are a separate world from ours within the narrative of the story.
Gotcha.
You know? And then again, in 1923, his Men Like Gods, we've got two people transported to another world, which is the first time that they talk about there being lots of other worlds. Right? So
And when you said that was 1910?
that one was 1923.
1923.
Yeah. So they are, in the other one, they're just transported to this other place. In this one, you don't go to any other worlds, but when they're in the alternate world, it's known that there are more than that, right? A multiverse kind of concept. And then we've got Heinlein, Elsewhere in 1941, where characters travel to various worlds. So the first time that we see a multiverse in fiction. Hugh Everett, at that time, in like I don't have the exact year, but late 50s.
I'll tell you, it was 1954 in a student hall at Princeton University where grad student Hugh Everett was drinking sherry with his friends when he came up with the idea that quantum effects cause the universe to constantly split. He developed the idea for his PhD thesis, and the theory held up. According to his work, we are living in a multiverse of countless universes full of copies of each of us. That was my intro to this segment.
Very good.
We're about to do.
Yeah. So he used the term multiverse there. The term multiverse had actually been used in like the 1700s, but in a completely different context. So presumably he was the first to describe it as that. But then in fiction, we have the Flash of Two Worlds.
Hey!
Right?
That's your guy.
Two of them. And, Carmine Infantino drew a cover with the current Flash, Barry Allen, and Jay Garrick, the Golden Age Flash, who Barry Allen used to read comics about, right, in his first story, because they used to play a game with their writers to draw very difficult covers to write stories about. I heard this from Carmine Infantino.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So a lot of them, they'd be like, "Let's see him get out of this one," and it was like a
Holy
back and forth,
shit,
right?
That's the reason for so many ridiculous covers back then.
Yes.
That and the attention-grabbing nature of them. But
Sure,
yes.
that's
Yeah,
awesome. Oh, I love that.
Yeah. Right?
Yeah. It's kind of like the Power Girl story.
What?
Oh, Power Girl. Does no one know this story? Do you remember who was drawing Power Girl?
When she first was created?
Well, there was I forget I was not prepared for this, but I shouldn't have said anything. But there was a story about Power Girl who is very buxom.
Yes.
She is a very busty lady, and so the guy who was drawing her, I guess the writer kept being like, draw him a little bigger, draw him a little big, draw the boobs a little bigger, and so eventually he just would start drawing the boobs bigger every issue, and just to see if he would notice. Wally Wood, was it?
Huh.
He would just keep escalating her boobage to ridiculous proportions. Yeah.
Interesting.
That's why to this day,
Very
Power
large.
Girl has, she's very top heavy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
Anyway.
very
sorry.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not bad.
And really not germane to the conversation at all.
No. But it was another thing.
It's germane.
It was germane to that point.
It's one creator
Natural.
doing something to another creator go ahead.
Behind
on
your
with
back, Brian is just saying, like, just placate him.
Oh, you mother. Really?
I would
You
never.
guys. It's not fair. I have to turn. I have the Batman suit on. I can't turn at the neck. Go. Finish your shit.
Right. So we've got thus started the DC Comics multiverse. And
Which, by the way, was awesome. That's
Was
one of my
awesome.
favorite comics of all time.
I love it.
Yeah.
And that gave rise, I think, in many ways to the multiverse being in sci-fi, right? Because you've got these earlier examples, but then with that was the first like large-scale multiverse. A couple of years later, you have a Star Trek episode that deals with a mirror universe that a lot of tropes come from, but they didn't really get into a lot of realities in the original Star Trek series. So then, I don't know the exact year on this one, but the Fantastic Four go back in time because Reed has come up with a way to cure Ben Grimm, right?
Finally.
But it's funny you should use the word finally, JT, because it would only work in his earlier form, right? 'Cause, you know, the thing went through a couple of transformations early on.
Yeah.
So they go back in time to give him the cure back then, introducing the idea of, sort of like Hugh Everett's, whenever you go back in time, you create another reality. Because it
Splinter.
works,
Yeah.
they go back to the present, Ben Grimm's still like he is, and Reed's like, oh,
Whoops.
what happened was we
Yeah.
created another reality, which becomes a major plot point in Marvel Comics. In Endgame, it comes up as well and was a big part of Universe X and all that stuff. So then you've got What If, right? Awesome series,
Yep.
which starts talking about what if things in our narrative went differently, right? Not just some other alternate world where the world's history is different, but like what if Spider-Man had
one
done this?
specific thing-
Or which I think was another like important advancement of the concept. Then Crisis comes around.
Crisis on
like,
Infinite Earths.
Crisis on Infinite Earths. DC, for some reason, says this is too complicated for people to understand, which I've never thought made any sense at all. And they collapsed it down to one universe.
Did that confuse you?
It didn't confuse me, but I can understand the want to
Streamlining?
streamline.
Yeah.
The one to streamline, I didn't like, but I can understand it. But their whole concept of like, oh, they thought it was too confusing for people that I've heard, which may not even be true. But I was like, well, what the hell?
It was.
Yeah.
It could be confusing.
Like, oh, this is
There's two
Batgirl.
Supermen.
So this is not the Batgirl that I was just reading. Wait,
Yeah,
this is
no.
Huntress.
Yeah,
Wait, is this Huntress?
Yeah.
Is the daughter? Wait, which Huntress is this?
I do remember that
So I can
conversation.
kinda-
but
And
yeah.
the fact
Kinda dig
that Captain Marvel and the Shazam family, they were supposedly on their own
that's
own
true.
Earth.
Their own Earth.
You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Oh yeah, they weren't part of like the DC.
No, they pretty
Yeah.
much were on their Earth S.
Oh,
Although they
okay.
did, like Superman was on the cover of the first DC Captain Marvel, right?
Introducing him.
Oh, was he not in the story?
Yeah, he's just
Okay.
introducing
Oh
him.
no
Okay.
kidding. Huh.
Yeah.
So then another notable change, I think, is Sliders.
I used to love Sliders, the TV show.
Awesome TV show where
Yeah.
people are stuck hopping from universe to universe. I didn't vet this or check it out in any way, but it's the first like kind of mass market alternate reality thing that I'm aware of, where it was all about just the multiverse and going around from reality to reality. And if anybody can think of any others that were earlier than that, I'd be happy
Email
to.
us at cultpopgo
Yeah.
at gmail.com to yell at Brian.
I guess
Yeah.
it's technically not going from different universes, but which came first, Sliders or Quantum Leap?
Oh, but that's not an alternate universe.
Quantum Leap is just
Yeah.
back in time.
He's
Okay,
making
but
things right that once went
I
wrong.
guess, yeah, that's what I was going to say. I guess it's
Yeah.
not.
And that
technically,
doesn't
it's not.
create a splintered universe, right?
At least not
Yeah,
there.
That's not that
Yeah,
type of
that's true.
time
Yeah.
travel.
Yeah.
Although I love that show too.
Oh, I love that show. We're rewatching that right now, Tamara and I, and because the new one came on, and she's like, "I'd like to watch this," and I'm like, "Oh, okay," But there's this older one. I don't know if you'd be into it. Started watching it again. Oh, it holds up so
Yeah.
well. It's so great.
Are those hours or half hours?
Hour,
Yeah,
42
it's
minutes,
hour
whatever.
long.
but-
It's
yeah,
syndicated.
yeah. And then right up to the present, we've got, I would say, the wide artistic penetration of the multiverse, right? With we've got Loki, Doctor Strange,
Mhm.
Marvel's coming up. Their next big thing is what the I forget what it's
Kang.
called. Kang. Right. A lot of alternate reality stuff.
Yeah.
And a multi-Oscar award-winning movie. We'll discuss at a later time.
It's so prevalent that I'm hearing people being like, all right, enough with the multiverse. It's too much multiverse. I'm done with the multiverse. Knock it off. Not me. I love the multiverse.
Oh, I love it.
love me some multiverse.
I love the whole idea. In fact, I want to bring it way back from my last entry to 1632 to 1677. Baruch Spinoza, one of my favorite philosophers of all time. It's not really... There's others. Heraclitus is great, too. There's only a couple of things from him.
Yeah.
Lao Tzu. Anyway, who may not have even been just one guy.
What?
But who knows? Lao Tzu translates as the master.
Yeah. Oh, so just I
It's
see, like the ancient one.
possible. Or it could have been just one guy.
Yeah.
Anyway, Baruch Spinoza, he theorized, among many other cool things, that everything that can possibly be happening is happening now, somewhere, right? Mental and physical type things are only two of those types of things. They're the two that we have awareness of now. But everything you can imagine is happening. The fact that it is fiction here does not preclude it in any way, right? Like Batman is riding a pterodactyl out there somewhere. Infinite Batman are riding infinite pterodactyls. And there also must be realities where there is fiction about that, right? Like ours.
Yeah.
And realities where we are fiction. Everything that can possibly be. So is it alternate realities? Maybe not. It's reality. But it's everything that can be. All of these alternate realities. And it's an awesome idea, and I love it.
I find great comfort in the idea of a multiverse and in the idea therein of there being infinite versions of me doing the things that I didn't do here, succeeding in ways I didn't succeed here. There's a me out there where my friend didn't die, and I get to hang out with that friend still. It's just something is kind of a comfort of like,
That's
oh
nice.
no, out there is
Yeah.
out there it's still going on.
That's
people-
cool. Yeah. Now,
don't
do
know.
you think at the edges of that, right, there's a you that's so different from this you that it's something else?
Right? Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, and in that way, you are part of the infinite variations of all things, right? And maybe we can have contact with that someday, right? If you
I
could
mean, it's
connect with
scary, but
all
sure.
things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, Robert says Lao Tzu is also my favorite philosopher, Brian.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
And he
Or-
also says, same here, JD, about, I guess, the comfort of multiverse. Because I think, I've had conversations with other people where they find the multiverse to be a frightening proposition.
Why is that?
It scares them, or it,
Interesting. The
um,
vastness of
or
it?
it makes them sad that there's a them out there that's not as happy as they are here, maybe. Yeah. So like it's mine, but the inverse. Yeah.
Intriguing.
So,
It's also, a potential answer to the problem of evil, right? Why do bad things happen? Because everything that happens.
right.
Everything
Yeah,
that can
there is
happen
no-
happens,
yeah.
right?
There's no limit to it.
Perhaps.
Well, that's what you've been up to this week.
Huh.
Leading us directly into Elseworlds, a term that is bandied about in reference to DC Comics specifically. But for tonight, we're going to use it to mean basically multiversal stories from both Marvel and DC, from television, from film. We're widening the scope. I know Marvel's was called What If, as we already mentioned. Batman Holy Terror was the first Elseworld way back in 1991.
The first official Elseworlds.
Yeah.
Because Gotham by Gaslight preceded it.
But it wasn't officially called Elseworlds?
Is that right?
Right. It was.
Ah.
It was.
Just
It
a
was, it was
story.
retconned as an Elseworld, but it was.
Interesting.
Now, the thing with Elseworlds that's different from What If is Elseworlds tend to be, here is a world that is completely
Yes.
different.
Yeah.
Right? Now, sometimes there are some where it's something different happen. The excellent Bruce Wayne getting the Green Lantern ring one.
Right. Some of them
You
are
know,
basically what if stories.
Right.
But
What if Superman landed in the Soviet Union?
yeah.
Oh, Red Sun.
Red
Yes.
Sun.
Or Superman Batman, where he's raised by the Waynes.
Oh, yeah,
Oof,
yeah.
awesome.
So, wait, do you have something?
No, just that those are two different types of, like a lot of other times they're like, what if all of this played out in the medieval world?
Yeah.
Or Gotham by Gaslight.
I'm
is
reading
like
one right now.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, that's the DC book, right?
I'm reading Dark Knights of Steel by Tom Taylor,
Yeah,
the guy
nice.
who's writing the awesome Nightwing book and the Titans book currently. And that was basically what if Super Kal-El came to Earth in medieval times, but also had his mom and his dad with him, and they started a kingdom. And then the way the kingdoms are sort of split up, and I think Jefferson, what is his name? Jefferson Pierce, is the sort of the enemy kingdom.
Interesting.
Yeah, there's some. Yeah, it's neat. It's good. I like it a lot.
But they're not super good, right? They're
good.
Superman side? No, not quality of story. I mean the characters.
Yes.
Oh, they are
the
definitely
elves.
good guys.
The elves
Oh,
are
okay.
definitely, they're just, and everyone knows that they're aliens and they fly and they have
okay.
powers and everything.
I was wondering because they're opposed to Jefferson Pierce, who is
Right.
also a hero traditionally.
He just doesn't trust aliens.
Oh, okay.
He's just like, they're aliens, they fly, they got too much power. Whoop, what do we do?
Does he shoot lightning?
He does.
Okay.
So does his family.
Okay.
Do all of those what if DC stories count? Like, what if Superman and Lois married and had children?
Yes, the imaginary tales.
Oh, the stories from the
wouldn't think-
50s and 60s.
Yeah, I wouldn't think that they count because they are specifically imaginary stories.
They are not an alternate reality within
Right.
the DC universe, even though later they have been retconned.
Well,
They
some of
all
them
have their own. Some of them, right.
None of them are going to come up tonight because they're not on any of our lists.
Too bad.
But
I was actually thinking of switching one of mine to one of those.
you can.
I might.
Oh, then yes, they do count. All right. So, Len, why don't you kick us off? What do you got to start with?
Oh, well, I'll start with just to me the ultimate alternate reality because it almost took over an entire franchise, as it were. And that would be Star Trek's Mirror Mirror universe, which started in the original series back in the 60s.
May I?
Sure. Go ahead.
Mirror Mirror is the 4th episode of the 2nd season of the American science fiction television series.
Star Trek.
Written by Jerome Bixby and directed by Mark Daniels, it was first broadcast on October 6th, 1967.
Right. And B, you can help me. It basically is like another universe where the Federation, as opposed to being this global or interstellar organization for peace, is interstellar like war. You know,
The Terran Empire.
you're right. It's the
Yeah.
Terran Empire, and all of and it's the joke of it is, and it's dead ass serious, is that it's basically all of your favorite Star Trek characters, but now they've got goatees.
I love that that's real.
Yeah.
I only know the sort of the mocking of that through, I don't know if it was South Park or Family
Probably
Guy.
one of them.
Yeah.
Everybody
Or all
is.
of them.
Yeah.
Everybody
Simpsons.
has mocked them. You
Yeah.
know.
Now, I was going to actually, I didn't mention it in my history of the multiverse because I knew you were talking about it, but I'd say it's even gone beyond the level of mocking to like shorthand.
Well, it is.
know,
The Mirror
like,
Mirror is
yeah.
now shorthand, and that's because not only does it show up in that episode in the 2nd season, and I think they don't return to it. They don't return to it in the 3rd season
In the original series?
in the original series.
No, I think
no,
it's
they
just
don't
the one.
return to
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
But it is such a beloved episode
Really?
of the show
Oh, yeah.
that when TNG comes back in their 7-year span, they
Next
do
Generation.
the next Star Trek Next Generation. They do a few episodes in the
Oh,
Mirror
no
Mirror.
No.
kidding.
I thought they did like a
Deep
few.
Space Nine does.
Oh, it's Deep
The
Space
Bell
Nine
Ride.
does a
Yeah,
few.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. So TNG they do one though.
Mhm.
They do. So they do.
Well,
one.
they do a parallel realities world, which did not include a world that was the mirror universe because paying for those costumes to be made would have been too expensive. They never did a mirror universe episode.
They didn't.
No.
Wait, what was with the
No.
costumes?
Well, they would have had to. So the mirror universe in the original series, the costumes are similar but different.
A little
There's
bit
more
more
gold
ornate.
sashes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And yeah. Wait, what did you say? Horny?
Ornate.
Oh, ornate, but also horny. Like they show a lot more
Oh.
skin.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
And,
yes,
yeah.
because Uhura in
Yeah.
the original episode in Mirror Mirror.
It's like a bikini, basically. Of
Oh my
red
God! And she's
uniform.
wielding it at night. I actually have the Funko Pop.
Oh,
of
yeah?
Uhura
Oh, sweet.
from Mirror Mirror Universe.
Nice.
You know. So continue because I actually thought they did one in TNG, but they
No,
didn't.
they never did. Which would have been cool. You
Wow,
know,
that's cool.
because there's some cool things that they could.
So
have
they
done.
actually don't really return to because it's been so forever.
Yeah.
So they return to the
In
Mirror
Deep
Mirror
Space Nine.
universe
Yeah.
in Deep Space Nine,
Yeah.
and then it becomes like a thing in all of the other iterations of Star Trek.
Did they do it in Voyager? I don't remember.
They maybe didn't do it in Voyager, but
Yeah,
they
but it was
certainly,
on concurrent shows.
but they did do one episode, at least one episode, possibly two in Enterprise.
Oh, there was a whole thing.
Yeah,
Oh,
there was
yeah.
a whole thing in
Yeah,
Enterprise.
they had a pretty awesome like sequence where the guy Zephram Cochrane's the first one to meet with the Vulcans, and it's this historic first contact day that began this Federation that's shown in the movie First Contact. And then they got the same actor to like shoot and kill one of the Vulcans
Oh.
instead, and all these moments within the history.
Yeah.
And it was the whole. It was like because a lot of those were multi-part episodes where they had the ship from the original series.
Yes.
And
yes.
you don't see the regular universe at all.
No.
It's just entirely set
Yeah,
within.
it's
the
just
alternate
set within the
universe.
Mirror Mirror.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
you turn it on, you're like, what the hell's going
Yeah,
on?
yeah.
And then you quickly realize, oh, I'm in the Mirror Mirror universe.
Because of the
Yeah.
goatees.
And it is so much a
They
thing.
dropped that.
Oh, do they? Oh, they do?
Yeah.
In
Just-
my head, every iteration is like they all
Everyone's
have
just got
goatees.
goatees.
No.
Dang it!
There was an episode of Sliders
Huh?
where the women had goatees because in that world, women grew facial hair instead
Oh,
of men.
Nice.
Yeah.
But then the Mirror Mirror universe becomes such a thing
Yeah.
in the world of Star Trek that it basically becomes a plot point in Discovery.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Because one of the lead characters that you're introduced to in the first season of Discovery, you find out later in the season came from the Mirror Mirror universe.
Wait.
Yeah.
Michelle Yeoh?
No, you knew that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But wait, there's a character from the Mirror Mirror universe?
Yes.
So there's a character. Yeah, there's a
Oh.
character from.
I
the
don't
Mirror
think I
universe.
understood the reference. I don't think I knew.
Oh, really?
I didn't get that reveal.
It's,
Yeah,
it's fairly
Yeah,
revealed.
it's pretty.
It's definitely
'cause they
revealed.
go to the mirror universe, and he's like, "I'm from here, the mirror universe."
Oh.
Yeah.
Maybe I missed that episode.
Well, it doesn't say Mirror Mirror universe. To be
No,
fair,
it
it's
doesn't
not called
call
Mirror
it
Mirror
universe.
universe.
Yeah. And also, there was probably no goatee, so I had no idea.
He didn't have a goatee. Well, he had to shave it because he was pretending to be the guy from the main universe.
Gotcha.
Oh, it was awesome. What an awesome
Oh,
reveal.
it was so awesome.
Yeah.
I want to talk about this after the show because I want to
We
remember.
should. And continues to the upcoming Giorgio from that.
Discovery.
Most of what she was in Discovery was her character from the Mirror Universe,
Yeah,
who is now going to have her own like Paramount movie or whatever it
I'm
will
very
be.
excited.
Yeah,
She was the reason I watched that show.
there you go.
Was for Michelle Yeoh. It's the only reason I got into Star Trek at all was because of Michelle Yeoh.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
That was nice.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it. That's it.
Brian.
That's my
Yes.
thing.
What's up?
What do you got?
My first stop. It's another sci-fi, the Farnsworth Parabox episode of Futurama.
Ah, nice.
Oh, what an amazing!
Dylan is fist pumping.
He loves it,
Yeah.
and rightfully so. And it's one of the best episodes of one of the best comedies. You know what I mean? Like Futurama's does brilliant sci-fi comedy drama stuff, and this is one of the best in that show, and also a great alternate universe like send up while still examining. They hit on so many of the ideas and tropes and make fun of it where appropriate, and that kind of thing. Like they're meeting their alternate selves for the first time, or sitting around a table, and they're like, "We'll be Universe 1, and you'll be Universe 2." It's like,
Yeah.
we want to be Universe 1. He's
Universe
like,
1, yeah.
I don't know. This place really feels more like a B. Two characters fight each other. They're like, I know all of her moves. That gives me the advantage.
Nice.
And they're perfectly symmetrical.
Is this like season 1, season 2?
Oh, I don't know.
Season
I feel like
19?
it's a little later. No, a little later in the original run.
Okay.
Like late season 2, season 3, somewhere.
Gotcha.
They hop through so many different interesting alternate realities. The episode ends with he creates a universe. He creates the other universe inside of a box.
Ah.
And that's how they go in and out of it. Neither one wants to leave that box in the other universe, so they pull them through each other, and their universe is contained within the box within their universe.
Yeah.
And the box is worth something too.
That's
says
awesome.
Professor Farnsworth, which is a great line.
Yeah.
And it's
Good news,
such a
everyone.
yes. I love that show, but
Yeah.
it's such a mind-bending concept that isn't part of the alternate reality, but I just love it for that reason. And yeah, I'm trying to think of any of the particular alternate realities that stand out at me, and nothing really does, but it's just a great concept. The professor who says "what" a lot says "que" when he goes through the Roman one, that kind of thing. Yeah.
I'm gonna have to check it out.
Oh, it's so good. Oh, have you not seen it before?
No.
Oh, yeah.
I have limited experience with Futurama
Mhm.
because there's a lot of episodes, and I just would watch it when it was on.
Sure.
But I've never gone through and like episode, like I am with the Twilight Zone.
Well, it's on Hulu now.
Yeah.
And none of it's bad, but the first 3 seasons are just brilliant. Like
Like
it's not a bad
Arrested
one in there.
Development.
Yes.
The first 3 seasons
Oh,
are the good
brilliant.
ones.
Yeah.
Although I guess the last 2 seasons are bad. So it's not like that at all. Never mind. Mine, I'll tell you what
What is it?
is Spider-Girl.
Oh.
So
yes.
there was
Nice.
a literal what if comic book, number 105. What if Mary Jane had never lost the baby and Spider-Man had a Spider-Girl? It focuses on the outcome of one part of the Clone Saga in which Mary Jane had apparently miscarried May, though the baby was secretly smuggled by Allison Mongrain and Norman Osborn. It picks up when Mayday Parker is 15 and just developing her Spidey powers. And why is that funny?
Yeah, I thought you were going to say just developing something else.
Oh, no.
It's not germane to the story, but here we go.
The artist kept drawing them bigger.
Bigger and bigger. But this was, I love the What If, and I love that they made an actual comic book out of it.
Now, did you read it when it came out in What
Yes,
If, and you're like,
yes.
this is awesome?
Because
And
one
what
of
a
my
treat, then.
one of my big hangups about the Clone Saga is this thing: the fact that Allison Mongrain was paid by Norman Osborn to smuggle the living baby away from Mary Jane and Peter and replace it with a stillborn baby.
Yeah.
So they thought that their kid died, and she sails away on a boat, and we never ever hear from her ever again. Marvel was just like, we're just gonna pretend that this never happened.
Maybe they got lost.
We're never
It could
gonna go
happen,
back to him.
right?
Yeah.
And just that's what happened.
So the fact that they made a what if about this, I was like, oh yeah. And it is one of the rare times they have revisited the Spider-Man storylines so many times, and they've never really been able to capture the lightning in the bottle, I think, of the Stan Lee stuff with Steve Ditko or John Romita Sr. But somehow, I think the Spider-Girl stories really did. Was it? Do you remember who wrote that? Was that Kurt Busiek?
No, that was the Spider Girl. Wasn't that Tom DeFalco?
Oh, was it DeFalco?
Yes. Yeah.
And Pat O'Leaf, I think, drew it for a bunch of it. But it somehow it was corny and earnest, and it really felt like early Spider-Man stuff to me at the time. So it was awesome, but like modern at the time. So I loved it. That was one of my all-time favorite alternate Spider-Man.
And it led to a small universe line of comics.
What was
I was going to say A Next, but I think that was the movie.
A
don't
Squared.
Was it?
was like A Squared or something?
Yeah. The
Yeah, yeah.
Avengers, Future of the Avengers. And there were 1 or 2 more, but I don't remember what they were.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah, it was a whole different universe.
Fantastic Four one, maybe?
That did not last very long.
No.
But yeah, and Marvel kept trying to cancel it.
Yes.
But there would be such a response from the fans with letter writing that at least 3 times.
Yep,
They were like,
they saved it.
okay, I guess we won't cancel it. Y'all better be buying this book though.
And I think as good a book as the book was, and I didn't read it, but I just took, I trusted people's opinion,
Yeah.
I think the most important thing about the legacy of this book is the fact that it proved the power of fandom.
Yeah.
That they saved this book not once, not twice, but 3 times from the chopping block.
Yep. It was incredible.
I think it also could be the first and maybe only what if alternate reality type story that has led to an ongoing comic.
I was thinking about that earlier,
yeah.
and I couldn't find any other ones.
Yeah, I can't think of anything else. I feel like there might be 1 or 2 out there that are much less successful. I mean, Age of Apocalypse has certainly returned many times.
Yeah.
Like they've done other stuff, but
It was an event.
not as an ongoing. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I think this might be the only one.
Nice.
Yeah, that is cool.
Len, you're up.
Well, I'm going to go with the go into the world of comic books, and I'm going to go with the comic book that really more or less created the term Elseworlds. And that was, as I mentioned before, Gotham by Gaslight by DC Comics.
Written by,
Brian Augustin.
drawn by,
I just drew a blank on his name. Mike Mignola.
and inks by P. Craig Russell. The story revolves around a 19th century version of Bruce Wayne making his debut as Batman just as Jack the Ripper has arrived in Gotham City.
Yeah. So, Jack the Ripper, famously, that no one knows who Jack the Ripper was. So this is a story that plays on that idea that Jack the Ripper is actually someone who, after his murders over in England, travels to Gotham to continue his crimes. And
Sounds like a real jerk.
Yeah, not well liked.
He
Like,
was
not cool.
I think some people do think that happened, and he was H.H. Holmes, right? That's at least a theory.
There's just tons of
But
theories.
yeah, of course.
Yeah.
There's tons of theories.
As many theories as people that have a different theory about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's as many theories as there are people who have different theories about it.
Exactly.
Yes, that is perfect.
Well, at least as many.
At least,
because
yeah.
somebody could have more than one theory.
Right. And but really what this book was, more so than an exercise in an alternate reality, was really DC starting to realize what they had in as far as a star in Mike Mignola.
Oh, yeah.
And trying to give him something that, this was the type of thing that he loved to draw. He loved to draw in this style, playing with the shadows and characters that basically become almost just like silhouetted shapes on the screen.
Very 2D.
Yeah, but it worked.
Yeah,
it worked
yeah,
because
man.
even when in the 2 dimension, there was still depth there, right?
I'd gotten a statue. They made a statue of Batman based on a Mike Mignola drawing. And I loved it. It was grayscale, so it had shadows and everything. But when I took a picture of it, it looked like just a 2D.
Yeah.
It was a 3D statue that was so well done that it just looked like whoop.
That's cool.
Yeah,
It was so cool. Yeah.
So
it developed, like, I know later on in Hellboy stuff especially, he gets like this very broad kind of angular, exaggerated
he wasn't
style,
there
very
yet,
abstract.
but you could definitely see it coming.
Yeah.
You could see it coming. So the story it's cool and it's well, Brian Augustin's not a bad writer, so it's serviceable, but it really was all about giving Mike Mignola the chance to play around with coming out with this very ornate Victorian, Batman costume.
That was a cool costume.
Which looks cool in like when you see sketches of it, but when you look in the book is so dark you really don't even see it.
That's funny.
But
He's just a black shade.
it's just a black shade, But it worked, and it was beautiful. P. Craig Russell, a favorite inker. So it really introduced. It was such a success that it just became like, let's put Batman in space. Let's put Batman back in the Civil War.
Remember that multiverse we collapsed with Crisis on Infinite Earths?
Yeah.
What if we didn't?
See, but they were different,
That was different,
right?
I know.
Yeah, because
I know.
these worlds
Sort of.
never. It was as though, like, so what if has the Watcher, and he's like, the world that we usually read about. Here's another one that happened, right? Whereas Elseworlds, were just completely separated and independent from the main line. At the older DC, they like ran into each other on a regular basis.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
So what was the Doom that came to Gotham related to that?
No, it's just along the same lines.
Oh.
Yeah.
But it's not. It's technically not the same thing.
Okay.
And then they just fairly recently did an animated version
Yeah.
of
Yes.
Gotham by Gaslight. Changed the story just a little bit slightly, stretched it out a little bit for a feature length. But and they try to approximate the look of Mike Mignola. It doesn't really they give it up. But it's still good. It still sounds, but I would tell people to go buy the book.
Is the reveal of Jack the Ripper, like, is that a part of the story? Do they ever reveal who the DC
who they
version is?
propose of Jack the Ripper? Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
There was, do you remember DC did an Elseworlds annuals year,
Mhm.
Yeah.
which was awesome as for me. You know?
Yeah.
And just in the vein of Gotham by Gaslight and the Doom that came to Gotham, there was another one that was in like a Victorian setting. Do you guys remember? It was kind of Joker and Two-Face sort of deal. Mix up, do you remember what the reveal in that one was?
No, I don't.
Where Bruce Wayne as Batman is chasing the Joker, and I forget how much they hint about it earlier on, but he also, there's like an exotic flower or something in town, or something like that, and he has ingested it for some reason, purposefully or accidentally, I don't remember. But the reveal at the end is he is like Two-Face, and this flower has divided him, and he is the Joker.
Oh,
and he was
fun.
chasing himself as this Victorian era Joker. It was
That's
cool. It was pretty cool.
I like that. Shit.
They need to put those together in like a
That would be a cool
compendium.
collection.
Well, they had
like
a
Victorian Gotham
Batman Elseworlds collection.
Yeah,
Had a
but
couple
those,
of 'em.
but it probably didn't have that because
Right,
there's
yeah,
been so
very
many
specific.
The Elseworlds
single.
annuals, yeah. I don't know. I have it, and I'll check it out to see if it has it. It has the Green Lantern one, I know, and I think it's got the Civil War one at least. Yeah.
Brian, you're up.
Hey,
Do it.
so my next one, if that's what you want to hear about.
That's the one.
Is-
That's the thing.
So this is the one that I changed, right? And that's why I
Oh,
brought up
shit.
it was Superman Batman is one. I mean, I'm sorry. Superman Speeding Bullets
Yes.
was what I was originally going to, because I love that. It blew my mind when I was a kid. I didn't know what Elseworlds was.
Uh-huh.
And it was like,
It's a cool cover.
what? Yes, it's a cool. It's got the classic Superman #1, him arcing up with his hand pointed down in a variation of the Batman costume, right?
Nice.
Just out of this world for me at the time, and I loved it. But I've also loved Superman Red, Superman Blue, the imaginary story
Oh.
from the
Oh, wow.
60s, right?
I never read that one. I read the Superman Blue, Superman Red
From the
that
90s.
happened in continuity.
Right. So it was I didn't preface this, which I was going to say these are 3 alternate reality stories that I like.
Yeah.
In no way my favorites. I don't know that I can.
Right.
I love alternate reality stuff, and there's so many, and 3 is such a small number that, right? What'd you just
It's
think?
magical.
Of?
I just thought of the nail.
It's awesome.
I love the nail.
right? We could have done a whole one of these just about DC stories.
Yeah, it's true. Like the title of it said.
Yeah, we
That we were going to
could have
do.
done that, but
yeah.
who
Go on.
knows?
Go on. Tell me more.
So Superman Red, Superman Blue was, for me, and I think just in general, the most famous alternate reality Superman story. Now, for a while, you
Okay.
know, like from the Silver Age, I would say, right?
Okay.
Yeah,
From that month,
yeah,
particular year in Silver Age,
It was riding
It was
high.
the most famous.
yeah. There were 2 others out, close competitors that
Yeah,
month,
yeah.
but this one won. And this is about a world in which Superman, through a combination of, I think, all of the kryptonites and some science, super science, he was able to... No, he was working on a way to cure himself of kryptonite. And he's fissioned into 2 Supermen, right? Identical in all ways. And...
most ways.
no, they didn't. They had the same costume, I think.
Oh, okay.
And then they
Okay,
changed
okay.
later. I'm pretty sure.
Gotcha.
And it just really captured my imagination
Yeah.
as a boy, right? That I love the idea of a hero's costume in a different color anyway. It's just to me very, very visually interesting and pleasing, like the
Yeah.
Reverse Flash.
Oh, I love it.
It's Barry's costume, but the inverse colors,
Yep.
right? So that really, I loved it. And everything works out great in this story,
Oh,
right?
that's
There's
rare.
2 Supermen.
It's the 50s.
Yeah.
Oh,
Right. Actually, I meant to mention this. It was 1963.
Ha!
Holdover from the 50s, probably. Written by Leo Dorfman with art by the classic Kurt Swan.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So it's very classic looking Superman, right? And with 2 Supermen, they can take care of everything.
Yeah.
Like, everything is done. All natural disasters are fixed. He helps humanity. He re-enlarges Kandor. One of them goes back to Kandor and lives with Lana Lang. One of them stays here and lives with Lois. He loses power on Kandor.
Why Lana Lang get the bottle?
He re-enlarged it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. No,
Fair
it's a new Krypton, basically.
Okay, fair enough.
But, yeah.
Fair enough.
But around a red sun, which kind of sucks.
Was Lana Lang always a mermaid?
That's Lori Lamaris.
That's Lori
Oh,
Lamaris.
shit, you're right.
Yeah.
Oh, Lana.
Lana,
From
Lana.
Smallville. I'm so dumb.
Well, yes, she did grow up in
We
Smallville.
know this.
Dumb.
He's got a lot of
Yes.
double L's.
Thank you. Finally, you agree with me.
Yeah. Well, if you weren't so dumb, it would happen more often.
That's our show. We did it.
No, JD, no.
Oh, no. We're
There's
still
more on the list.
going? Ah, jeez.
So anyway, yeah. I just All right, keep it together. So we've got just like there's 2 Supermen. Everything is fine now.
Yeah.
And it was just plus the idea of 2 Supermen. It's amazing. So that or Superman speeding bullets were just neck and neck for me because I love them both in different ways. Him becoming Batman is very cool. And he winds up becoming Superman by the end of it anyway. And Lois is like, but is there any other way he could have turned out to be Superman? And there is, actually. Yeah, she doesn't know.
The
So anyway,
reason
I love
why I turned a scant eye to you about like the
most popular
but
Superman?
you put the caveat on the Silver Age.
Yeah.
Because if you go back to the late 60s and 70s, in the world of this writer Bob Haney, who wrote Brave and the Bold and World Finest comic books back then, who paid zero attention to what was happening in the other comics. He did not care.
Yeah.
He said, I'm writing the story. It's a good story. That's all that counts.
Yeah.
So much so that in the world's finest comic books, he created Superman and Batman Jr.
The Super Sons.
The Super Sons.
Super Sons.
Yes.
Yeah,
You could even make a case, given what Len just said, that this is not even an alternate reality because he was just like, this is how it is.
This is how it is.
This
This is how it is.
Right.
Superman and Batman have teenage, grown sons.
They're in their superheroing career already. They have costumes just like
look just
Superman and
like
Batman.
their parents.
Yeah.
The only thing that looks different is that when they have mutton chops because it's the 70s.
Of course.
Sure.
Their mothers are never mentioned.
Oh, is it not Lois and Selena?
They're never
Really
mentioned
how about
at
that?
all.
That's amazing.
If in this universe that he created, Batman never heard of Robin because it basically is just Batman Jr. Robin never shows up. There is a collection. You can buy a collection of all of the Superman, Batman Jr. stories. There were maybe about good 6 or 7 of them.
Would I want to? Are they good?
No.
Okay.
You could buy them.
Yeah, you
But
could.
the only reason you buy them is because in that collection, there is the final story, which is from, I think, like maybe the 80s, early 90s, where somebody, I can't remember.
No way it's early 90s.
Maybe
At
so, maybe
post-crisis?
Maybe, it might be pre-crisis, where some writer, I can't remember, finally closes the loop
Yeah.
on what the Superman, Batman Jr., what the deal was
Yeah,
with them.
yeah.
And I don't want to give that away.
Oh,
if you
okay.
ever wanna read
Oh,
the
is
book.
it a good...
Oh.
All right, I was
It's
going to
a
give it
reveal.
away. But all right, it's a reveal. It is a reveal.
It is
Okay.
a reveal.
All right.
Okay.
Tune in next week
Yeah.
for what's up with the Super Sons and how is that going.
But
what?
one of the coolest things to come out of that, didn't come out of that, was that Alex Ross, the famous comic book painter, Alex Ross, in his one of his collected books called, I think it's Alex Ross Rough Sketch or whatever. It's all just his sketches and his
Love him.
ideas.
I love his pencil drawings.
He actually proposed to DC that he wanted to do a story with Superman Jr. and Batman Jr., where they try to figure out, wait a minute, how did we get here?
Yeah.
Who is our mother?
Interesting.
And he created like this whole universe. He pitched it to them. He wanted to tell the story, and it was going to be fully painted and everything.
Cool.
And if you buy that book, he's got the sketches that he presented to DC.
What era was this? You know, like what was going on DC wise in terms of their willingness to do alternate stuff? Because for sometimes they're like,
I mean,
"No,
it was
let's go."
definitely after Kingdom Come, so he could have pretty much wrote his own ticket,
right.
But I guess they
he wrote it, they just didn't take it.
Yeah.
But I guess
Ticket's no good here.
by then, like I said, like the loop had been closed on them,
Right.
so maybe they just didn't want to reopen the can of worms.
Yeah. Were their names also Clark and
Yes,
Bruce? Right.
Clark
That's
and
right. It was
Bruce
Clark and Bruce Jr.
Jr..
Yeah.
What?
Who went
Yeah.
around as Batman and Superman Jr.
I hate it. I hate it. All right.
Hey.
Did you? Who turned it? Is it
Oh,
my turn?
your turn.
It's my turn. I'll go. So speaking of Alex Ross, thank you, Len. Kingdom Come came out in 1996. It was a 4-issue comic book miniseries.
With Mark Waid, right?
Mark Waid and Alex Ross, and painted in gouache.
In what?
Gouache.
Gosh.
What is that?
Gouache is like watercolor but thicker.
Oh, wait, is that right?
Yes.
Yeah, I believe it's made with eggs. Who also developed the concept from an original idea. The story is set in an alternate future of the DC universe. The new generation of heroes have lost their moral compass, becoming as reckless and violent as the villains they fight. The previous regime of heroes, the Justice League, returns under dire circumstances, which sets up a battle of the old guard against 3 uncompromising protectors in a conflict that will define what heroism truly is and determine the future of the planet. This blew me away when it first came out.
Indeed.
I want to say it was probably the first Alex Ross I ever saw or read.
Are you reading Marvels?
Yeah.
Did not read Marvels.
Oh.
Wow.
But for some reason, Kingdom Come, which it's got that great Spider-Man
Yeah, that's
cover.
crazy.
Yeah, that's
Right.
why I'm like, wow.
Yeah, what happened?
I don't know.
Let's talk
Maybe I
about it.
just wasn't aware of it.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah. This
Yeah,
is
because if the 5 copies that your comic shop got
Yeah.
had sold out, it's not like you would see it online.
yeah.
Yeah.
And if it came out, last month, and I wasn't able to get the comic shop last month, and there
Right,
was no
right.
copies, and I
Right.
was like, yeah. So yeah. Did you guys read You must have. You've both read Kingdom
Yes.
Come.
Oh, yeah.
1,000 times.
Do you love it?
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it as
Absolutely
well.
love it.
There's
Yeah.
so many great parts of that story. Yeah.
Even as a kid, though, I remember being like, it seems like the theme of this book is, and this wasn't a term yet, make America great again. It's sort of like the old guard is right. The new kids, the new generation is up to no goodness.
Well,
they
it was
were
it,
right.
It was a commentary on
Yeah.
on 90s comics.
Yeah.
And 90s comics were shit.
They were shit.
And they were also like the
Very
thing that the
edgelord.
older people, like people aren't necessarily wrong just because they're old,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And Superman is Superman, and we had people like Magog running around
Yeah,
killing
yeah.
people,
Yeah.
and much was made that there was the line between hero and villain was almost not there, and it was just these super battles that
Yeah.
happened, right? Which is an interesting way to take a superhero universe.
Yeah.
So I think I don't think there was an element of particular like what would later become Make America Great Again. It certainly didn't have those ideals.
Well, not
Yeah.
that specifically, but it's
Yeah.
the whole thing of like everyone's complaining about millennials right now. And it's like
Well-
very in vogue to be like, oh, every generation
Sure.
has complaints about the following generation.
Socrates mentioned it in his defense in front of the Greek Senate that they complain that the young don't respect their elders and that they don't all the same things
Yeah.
that people complain about in every generation.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my point. Dane
said it better.
says he always says it better, man. I love that DC took a play on Frankenstein in Elseworlds for both Batman and Superman.
Yeah, he did.
Yes.
What were those? Remember the names of those?
I kind of remember the Batman one. Was it one of... So there was a time after the early Elseworlds that there were a lot of Elseworlds, right?
A lot.
Yeah, like I said. There
And it was
a-
always Superman or Batman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And after a while, it kind of, especially for those annuals, became, what if these characters were in a different time?
Yeah.
And it not as interesting, right? Some of them were great, and some of them not so much. So if that was during that time when so many came out, and it may have even been at least one of those, might have been one of those annuals. But yeah, Dane Zanowski, let us know.
Yeah,
if
being
you
a fan
can.
of the Universal Monsters,
Yeah.
he says. There was also one where Batman was a vampire.
Oh yes,
Yes.
Blood Rain?
Blood Rain. Yeah,
Blood
with
Rain.
Kelly Jones.
Yeah.
that one was
Kinda
cool.
just in
I think
the
there
art.
was.
Oh.
Was there a movie?
There we go. Batman Castle of the Bat.
Yes.
Oh,
And
yes.
the Superman monster.
Superman
Yes.
There you go.
monster.
Yeah.
I
Thank
do remember
you.
Castle of the Bat.
There
for
was
sure.
actually a very cool one by, I think it was Alan Grant and Norm Brayfogle,
Oh.
where Batman is basically like an agent of the church. And it's like striking down on all these
like demons, right?
like seeing like the heroes as demons. Like I think there's
I
like
don't
a
think I
really
read that
cool
one.
scene where like Superman is like strung up or something like that. It's really out there. That's a really cool
I
one.
love Brayfogle. And
Hmm.
yeah, Alan Grant was he was writing detective comics, right?
Mhm,
Yeah, man,
mhm.
those were great. But yeah, just Kingdom Come.
Hmm.
I just absolutely love that. It's one of the first times I saw a whole book that was hand painted, and I've never seen
Oh,
anything
yeah.
like that. It was gorgeous, and the story was great, and Superman returning at the end, and
Ooh, Captain Marvel twist.
the Captain
Oh,
Marvel
what a
bit.
that was a
Captain
cool
Marvel
twist.
twist.
Yeah,
was
man.
cool.
And
That
you know
was
he
good shit.
wanted the Green Lantern to be Hal Jordan, and DC said no way.
Because wasn't Hal Jordan dead
He
at the
was
time?
dead or evil at the time.
Wait, was that not Hal Jordan?
So
No, that was
in
that
this-
was Alan Scott.
it was unspecified,
Was it?
but that's why they never say. But he's got Alan
but-
Scott's ring,
And he's got
and
Alan
Scott's
a little
hair
lighter
and all that
hair.
shit.
It was
Yeah.
Alan Scott.
Oh, I always
Yeah.
thought that was Hal. I
No,
never
it was Alan
realized.
Scott.
He wanted. I mean, he wanted you to be able to think it
Yeah,
was
yeah.
Hal if
Yeah,
you
but
wanted
no,
to.
it was Alan Scott.
Yeah.
Especially the way the aging works. Like he wasn't way older than Bruce and Diana in appearance, like Alan Scott would be, right?
Well, he's
Well,
got that going on anyway.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's got a little bit of that youth thing or whatever.
Yeah.
But because I think that may have been around the time that he was Sentinel, but I can't remember.
Yeah.
But the other thing is that they kind of wanted you to hint that the Flash in that may have been Jay Garrick
Well-
because
Oh,
of
you
the
think so?
helmet.
'Cause
Yeah,
the
the
helmet?
helmet.
But
Yeah,
it
because you
actually
didn't know
was
which one it
Barry
was.
Allen.
Yeah, I thought it was Barry with the helmet.
No, I thought it was Wally. Well, but later on, it turned out to be Wally. Maybe because you remember they did a sequel series
the
called
Kingdom.
The Kingdom,
Yeah.
where somebody was going back in time, killing Superman every day. I think.
Oh wow.
Which I believe was also where Hypertime was reintroduced, and you got
Really?
the Phantom Stranger-looking son of. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
The son of Superman and Wonder Woman, raised by Batman,
Right.
who was like the guardian of Hypertime. Never seen again. as
Now
far
here's
as
the
I know.
thing: that miniseries, The Kingdom,
Mhm.
which was the more or less the sequel to
Oh, yeah.
Kingdom Come. Kingdom Come was originally Alex Ross's idea.
Yeah.
And he got Mark Waid to kind of like help him write it because he wasn't as confident as a writer at
Sure.
the time. So he did come up with an idea for The Kingdom as a sequel.
Huh.
But DC wanted to put so much of a change on it that he said, okay, y'all do that.
Yeah. I'm out.
I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
And then years later, when he talked Jeff Johns into allowing him to use the
Yes.
Superman from Kingdom Come
Mhm.
in Justice Society, in that
Oh,
book,
right.
he then pretty much massages the story to
man.
present the Kingdom story that he wanted to present.
Oh,
that's
knowing
cool.
the way
That is
ends,
really the sequel
Yeah.
to Kingdom
Oh
Come.
shit.
the way that ends.
Yes.
Now hearing that could have been a whole miniseries, I really want that miniseries instead. You know, because it turns out he sees the Legion of Superheroes
Yeah.
having aged, significantly, and he's just kind of watching now.
Yeah, because like the last
Yeah.
pages of it are the last pages of that storyline, which is Alex Ross does all the covers, but it's
Yeah.
drawn by Dave Eaglesham.
Eaglesham was doing all those. Yeah.
But
That's a great run.
the last few pages are
Yeah.
Alex Ross painted
fun.
Yeah.
in that universe.
That's fun.
Oh, it was great. And Gog is a major part of that line.
because that was the story. That he
yeah,
wanted
him
to tell.
becoming, but yeah.
Oh, also, if are you guys reading Batman Superman World's Finest
Yes.
by Mark Waid and Dan Mora,
Yes.
that whole first story arc
Well,
ties in.
Well, that whole comic is like
Yeah.
basically, isn't it? It's not supposed to be canon though, is it?
It's supposed to be in the very recent past.
Okay. Oh,
Yeah.
well, I guess it's
Yeah.
canon. But
Yeah.
anyway, yeah.
You know, the good couple of thoughts about Kingdom Come. I love that concept of the Flash. right? He is moving so fast.
Yeah.
And that's why you don't know which one it is for sure.
Can't even,
Because
your
he's
eyes
just,
can't even see him anymore. He's just a blur.
He's taking care of everything in Keystone and Central Cities and is just never stops. And his daughter, who I forget if she's in Kingdom Come or if it's just later. I think she's in Kingdom. Yeah, she's definitely
in Kingdom Come because she's on Batman's side.
Yeah, and is like, feels lonely, I think, with that because he's always around, or he's always running around.
That storyline made me sad as a Flash fan. I was
For
like,
sure.
oh.
Yeah.
Maybe take a nap.
But you see a few of them later on. But I would say the Kingdom Come Superman is in a different way than Spider-Girl, but one of the most stick-aroundedness guys of alternate realities, right? You have seen the Kingdom Come Superman more, represented
He also
more.
has the best S shield.
He's got a great S shield.
I love that S shield.
And I mean, you saw him in the Brandon Routh reprised that in the Crisis, and ostensibly as a possible future to the Christopher Reeve movies because he was a possible future of that. And he's in the JSA, and you see him reappear more than most other alternate reality characters.
Kingdom Come is great. It's fantastic. I cannot recommend it high enough for people. But it also is cool for just so many cool Easter eggs that Alex Ross paints into there. There's like a touching on the Watchmen in there.
I don't think I noticed that. When
because there's somewhere on the wall it says like who watches the Watchmen.
Nice.
He sticks in. Jesus, he sticks in Peter Parker in there a little bit. Jonah Jameson shows
that's
up
cool.
Fun.
a little bit. But you know what is the best Easter egg? You know that there are actual Marvel heroes in there?
No.
Who are they?
You don't
Where
know
are
about that?
I mean, I might. I'd
What's
have to
this?
see it.
When there's the breakout at this huge jail where all the supervillains are, and then you see all the superheroes coming to get them.
Yeah.
If you look deep in that well, very small, it's Captain America, Thor, and I think there's one other.
That's cute.
I don't think it's
that's
Spider-Man,
awesome.
but
I always love when that happens.
Yeah,
I love it.
Yeah, me
Sneak in
too.
little.
Yeah.
I love stuff like that. All right. Who's up?
Len is up.
Len, you got your last one. What do you got?
Well, JSA Golden Age from 1993, written by James Robinson and drawn by Paul Smith, is a 4-issue prestige format. This is what they were called back then in 93. Miniseries that purports to tell the story of what happened between the disbanding of the Justice Society at basically the tail end just after World War II and the creation of what is called the Silver Age of comics. And the mystery that they show in how the Justice Society, or basically all of the heroes of the wartime, come out of the war so broken by the experience, disenchanted with America because America becomes a little bit disenchanted with them, and yet still wanting to hold on to the values that they want to be heroes, and they're struggling with that. It's such a beautiful story because this is also a world where there is no Superman, there is no super duper powered hero. There's not even a Dr. Fate. There's not a Spectre. The most powerful hero is Green Lantern, and that's because of Green Lantern's ring.
Yeah, like what's his name? The TNT kid, right? Like he's one of the main characters.
He's one
right?
he's one of the main characters.
Yeah.
The TNT hero
Kid
of the
Nitro.
Golden Age, and his sidekick Dynamite Boy. And basically he earns the power of being able to blow up things. But
How do you earn that?
well, he gained it through some
Oh,
radiation. Radiation did everything.
Oh, sure.
But it's such a beautiful book. Paul Smith can do no fucking wrong as an artist to me. One of my favorite artists. But it is such a real story told through the lens of one of the more popular heroes of the 40s, but just didn't get his shine. Johnny Quick.
Oh yeah,
And
Johnny
he is
Quick
like kind of
cool.
like your window into this.
Do
right?
you know it? Does anybody here, other than me, know his speed formula?
No, I can't. I'm aware
What
of
is
it, but I
you know,
couldn't.
you know the speed formula? one?
That's 3 times a bunch of numbers.
There is. Well, yes, and letters.
Go ahead. You know you want to say it.
I do want to say it, and I'm going to. And maybe this will be the time that I get super speed. Hang on. 3x2 9yz 4a. There's some parentheses in there as well. 3x2 parentheses 9yz close parentheses.
No, you
4a.
fucked it up. I don't think.
See,
I
you
don't think
fucked
you
up.
got
Once
any
you start after
powers.
saying the close, you
I said
fucked
it
up.
the first time. I didn't try it. 3x2 9yz 4a. Did I move really quickly? And it just
Maybe.
looks regular to me? No, how would you know? Never mind.
It is, but JSA Golden Age, and it was released first off as just the Golden Age. It's been retconned to JSA Golden Age. It's such a beautiful book, such a beautiful story, and it really centers on like just a lot of like more or less non-powered vigilantes of the time, having to deal with this crazy, insane mystery that happens, and I will not give it away. That deals with an old enemy of the Justice Society and an old enemy of the world at large, and that's all I'm going to say. But it is so dope. It is so beautiful, and when I was reading it, in my head canon, this is canon for DC. It's not.
Right.
I understand that, but it's my head
what
canon.
happened.
It's my head
for
canon.
sure. Now, Len, when I read this, speaking of that, I had no idea what Elseworlds was. I don't know if I'd read Superman, Batman, or Superman Speeding Bullets already. But I picked this up and I'm reading it, and I got one issue, I think issue number 1, because I was like 11 or 12. And I'm like, what is happening?
And
Because it's a different world, right? I'm like,
and it's dark.
wait, and it is dark too, but I think, I didn't know as much about continuity then as I do now, but I knew enough, but not enough to know that I wasn't wrong, maybe. And I'm like, hang on a second.
Yeah, that's not
Wait, this guy was doing this? I thought he was who's this guy?
Right, right,
this kind of thing. And so I was like mystified, but I thought it was awesome. Like the art is amazing. It's done with, like you said, it was called a prestige style, which is just the name of the binding, but it was a very prestigious feel of a book, And from the opening cover, the indicia is cool. The way they write the title in like this,
because it's got like a gold foil.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that too. That was awesome too, which was very not quite popular yet, I think, at the time. But also just the design of the Golden Age has this like retro kind of future, like something you find on an
50s
old
like
radio.
retro.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
It
cool.
was cool, which I love, and the JSA is cool, and I don't think they were very heavily represented in comics at that.
No,
at
they
that
were
time,
not.
You know,
They were not. And to
Yeah.
be fair, the JSA, as most people know it,
They're
Green
not really.
Lantern, Flash,
Yeah,
whatever, they're talked about in there, but it's not really them because it's all these tangential heroes that knew them. Like it's like Johnny Quick, who was like a super speedster at that time, and he even jokes about how people always wanted to know who was faster, me or the Flash,
Oh, I see.
and he doesn't even say because he knows he wasn't.
right?
You know?
But he can fly too.
And he
Flash
can
was
fly
faster.
too.
I remember seeing this on the shelves when I was a kid back in 1993, and I may have picked it up. I was like, "Who's these jokers? I don't know these guys."
Yeah.
And I picked it up and I flipped through it. And I'm like,
No.
I don't even know. I was under the impression it was not a DC comic. Like I thought it was an indie book with just made up superheroes.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, who gives a crap about this? And I just put it right back. I never bothered with it.
I think they all were pre-existing superheroes.
Oh,
Right?
no,
Like,
they're all
characters
pre-existing.
from the-
To me,
No, I know. To
I
you,
was very
yeah.
much into like the big heroes of the time. I was a big
Oh, for sure.
Spider-Man guy,
Yeah.
Todd McFarlane, all that sort of stuff.
Right.
And I wasn't really big into DC at the time, so I had no idea.
But like in a way, maybe they were a bit like. You remember? I don't know. Maybe around 10 years ago, a bunch of the Gold Key heroes were reborn by I think Archie Comics. So these were actual Golden Age characters that just hadn't been written about for like 70 years.
The
And
American, I think, is that one of
the
them?
Black Pirate,
Yeah,
I think, was one of them.
yeah.
It was a very strange Superman type
Yeah.
because that's his role in that universe. But
That was
he's
it. Wasn't a Gold Kid, it was Dynamite.
Dynamite.
Because
yeah, you're
Alex Ross
Yes.
did a whole thing of
Yeah.
covers.
And
on it.
Kirby, a guy named Kirby, was a
Yeah.
main character who also, I assume, looked like young Jack Kirby.
Yeah.
Then the Gold Key ones did come back at another time. I
They
believe.
did.
Yeah.
They were with Archie.
Brian, go.
Hey, what do we got here? Let's see. Star Trek: The Next Generation parallels, right? Similar to how Futurama is one of the best comedies in my mind. Star Trek: The Next Generation, all-time best TV shows. One of them at least. And this is a great episode, right? It's later in the show. You know the characters well, and Worf coming home from a Batleth tournament where he took second place because somebody cheated a little bit. He right? It turns out okay. So it's fine. But he's coming home. He's recording a personal log, and he lands on the Enterprise. And I think that's when he finds out he's in another reality. Just like something is different, but he doesn't know he doesn't know at first that he's in an alternate reality. And
everyone's got goatees.
Yes. But they take him off real quick, so he doesn't notice. And his goatee is gone. Yeah. And he's so he has to figure that out first, that he's even blipping through alternate realities. I think I forget how quickly it happens, but it's a great episode that shows one of the things that I love most about alternate realities is like the core of the concept, seeing these sometimes big, sometimes small variations, right? Mm-hmm. And so you go through, Data has blue eyes. He looks just exactly the same in every other way, but he's got blue eyes in one of the realities, right? And in another reality, the Wesley Crusher's back. Like the makeup of the crew is different. Relationships are different. Comm badges are different. He's standing at the defensive thing when something happens, and tactics are different too. And
the panel
does not work out well for Geordi if we had that one, because they get hit. You know what I'm saying? Because he doesn't know the configuration.
Sure.
And he's like, "What's going on?" And Riker's like, "Get out of here." What are you doing, Mr. Worf?
Shoot!
Right.
Yeah.
You're usually pretty good at this.
Yeah.
And just all those small.
Do you find out why he's blipping through the?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, it's always some kind of space babble.
Yeah, there was some space
thing
happening. Yeah, it was like a quantum thing was happening, and Data theorizes like, for every reality, every choice kind of deal. I forget if he says it's the choices that generate them or if they're just already out there. But the climax of it is a lot of enterprises show up. And you see different
wars.
Different wars, different, like, one of them is if a major threat to the Federation had won, and one of them is if that had happened and Picard was gone, but the Federation won in that one, and so you see all of these different realities, and all the Data's working together to figure
all in
it
one
out.
episode?
Yeah, that last part's pretty quick.
Yeah. That scene where he's talking about when all the Enterprises show up contains one of the funniest lines I've ever heard. Because I think his Crusher is at the comms, or like, and like all these Enterprise start pipping up, and he's like, "Captain, we're receiving 1,000 hails." Because everybody's just like, "What the fuck are you?"
Where are we? What's happening? And everyone acts in basically the same ways. They all do it at like the same time, basically. It's just, one thing that they could have done that maybe it wouldn't have worked out sizing wise, they could have switched colors of the uniforms at that time. And 30 years later, I never thought of it until right now. It wasn't missing anything.
There's budget restraints, man.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, they maybe couldn't just switch uniforms with each other. And so then at the end, it turns out, remember that Batleth tournament I was telling you about earlier, right? That somebody cheated and he took second prize. He was already in an alternate reality.
Oh,
that's right.
All right. So
and he, which is actually kind of inconsistent. It's weird because he actually did that and had that memory. But anyway, when he comes back, he won. It's great. Yeah.
Poof.
So
disaster averted.
Yeah, it was fine. It wasn't really that big of a deal.
Spider-Man Reign came out in 2006.
Okay.
And it was by written and illustrated by Kare Andrews.
Yes.
It was 4-issue limited series. It took place on Earth 70237.
Cool. Noted at that time?
Yeah.
Oh, what did they really?
Oh, I don't know. That's what it says.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think it was noted.
Yeah,
No,
I don't think they had all the Earths back then. Set 30 years into Spider-Man's future on Earth 70237, it features a retired Spider-Man who returns to combat the injustices of a vastly different New York City. And this was 100% Kari Andrews being like, "Hey, what if Spider-Man had a Dark Knight Returns?
Exactly.
Very sick.
And
It
what
should
if
be-
I drew it to look exactly like
Yeah.
Frank Miller's Dark Knight
Yeah,
Returns?"
and it'll be in the black costume, so it'll be
Yeah.
darker. And it's so much so that I believe they have talking heads on TVs in
yes,
there who
yes.
are named Miller and Varley.
Yeah.
Okay, right.
Yeah,
Well,
it's-
I've never read it. I knew the
Yeah.
I knew the backstory, but I never.
Yeah,
read it.
it's
good.
definitely
Yeah.
what if what if Spider-Man was in
What if
Dark
I had
Knight
thought of
Returns? Yeah, yeah, exactly. But it is a little what's the word I'm looking for? Infamous. Because of some of the story choices that happen. To me, I thought this was horrible, and has stuck with me ever since.
The book itself.
Yeah.
The
Weird
something
choice
that
for him to
happens,
bring up.
Something that happens in the book with Mary Jane. Mary Jane's dead. Dr. Octopus is dead. But the reason MJ is dead is because you remember he got bit by a spider.
Yeah.
Oh, it was,
Oh, it was the
And here-
radiation he killed her by having
Cancer.
sex with her all the time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Turns out he was just dumping radioactive seed into her.
Yeah.
And
I mean, that would-
she
yeah.
died of radiation poisoning
Yeah.
from having sex with radioactive Peter Parker,
Yeah.
which is a punchline now. But when I read it,
Oh.
I was like, I really felt the Parker luck. Like,
Yeah.
I really felt his
I mean, it's-
responsibility to
It's
that.
certainly an interesting, possible
Right.
angle to take on what could happen.
Yeah, this
yeah.
dude he has spider powers because he's radioactive, and anyone around him, like, sure,
See, yeah,
it's
that's what I
someone he's
thought. It
having
was just
sex with.
because, yes, they did have sex. They had a healthy
No.
sex life, but I thought it was just because.
Was it throat cancer? Says Robert Monroe Jr.
It,
Well done.
it was all ends.
Yeah.
No, I thought it was just because they were around each other so much.
Right.
I don't remember the.
Yeah.
Did they enumerate that in the book?
I believe so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did they show it?
Yeah, that's when he yells "thwip,"
Oh, nice.
but it's not.
That's a
it's
good.
not webs.
Interesting.
Yeah.
What is it?
He's
semen.
spraying
Oh, yeah.
ropes.
Yeah, ropes. He's throwing ropes.
This part doesn't come up a lot in my Spider-Man career, but I can also do this.
So yeah, and then also there's a really gnarly bit where Dr. Octopus is dead
Yeah. Because
and
of the same-
buried. He also is
The same
covered,
reason?
yeah, from all of the spider semen.
All these ropes on his face.
Do this one more time, Spider-Man, and I quit.
He winds up dying.
Technical porn.
And well, his tentacles, which are AI and alive, are dragging
porn
around his
industry.
corpse.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
I forgot about that part. Yes, it is in the porn industry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, anyway, it's coming back.
Is
by
he
the
in
way,
the tentacles?
they're returning to Spider-Man Reign.
That's it. I enjoyed it.
I liked it a lot.
Very much so. I was like, oh, this is just Dark Knight Returns.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
I thought it was cool. But is he in the tentacles, Dr. Octopus, or did they
the corpse
themselves?
is dragging.
No,
I'm
no.
sorry. The arms are dragging around Dr. Octopus's corpse.
No, I'm sorry. I mean the mind. Is his mind in the tentacles? Or
Oh, I
is
don't
he
remember.
Dead. The
Oh, yeah.
tentacles have their own AI.
They got their
Yeah.
own AI. Okay.
Yeah, I don't
All right.
think that I don't think he uploaded himself to the
I got
arms, but it's possible.
Right.
It's possible.
Is he like a decomposing corpse?
Yes.
Yeah.
He is a skin and bone, like skeleton.
Yeah.
Just
Sounds
being.
repulsive.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's gross.
And how does it even stay there? If he's doing all kinds of stuff, you think it'd get knocked out?
I just
Some of it.
I just picture him like Weekend at Bernie's-ing
Yeah.
while fighting Spider-Man.
How is there a
But-
sequel to that movie?
Right?
That's so weird.
I just picture it eventually just dragging along a hip.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
just
what I'm
like,
saying,
he would
right?
just
It would
crumble.
eventually just kind of start
Yeah,
to
well,
fall.
it's only 30 years, and maybe he's only been dead for like a year.
I guess so.
How long
You
has
think
it
the
been?
head would come off right quick.
think.
It's just
You know?
dragging.
Yeah. just-
Right.
yeah,
And he's getting into fights, right?
Yeah.
There you go.
so that was it. We did it.
We did it.
We did it.
hmm
Throwing ropes.
Anything else that you thought of
Jesus.
while this?
I
You
don't
mentioned the
remember
nail was
now.
pretty awesome.
The Nail.
Yeah.
The Nail by Who
Alan
wrote
Davis.
who wrote it? Was it Alan Davis? He wrote it and drew it.
Mhm.
To
We
this
reviewed it on the
day-
show.
To this day, one of my favorite
Awesome.
Elseworlds.
Awesome story.
Yeah.
And it's like a very classic Silver Agey type story.
Yeah.
There was one, I don't remember the name of it. I think it was called Flashpoint, actually, where the Flash was the only superhero in the
Oh.
world, and it was a
When-
really cool.
When about was
Ooh, like late 90s,
Oh,
I
okay.
think.
Hmm.
It was either 2 or 4 part story where he's the only superhero and he's just the Flash. He's
Exhausted.
like, people love him and he's probably tired sometimes.
Yeah, yeah.
And but he has a lot of energy
Yeah.
from the Speed Force and such, which didn't exist yet, maybe. And but it was cool. It was just
Yeah.
a cool explanation, a cool exploration
story.
of
Yeah.
like, what if he was the only superhero?
You know what?
What?
For this one's for Noel.
Here we go.
You know, one of my favorite multiversal
What is it?
stories, Armageddon 2001.
You know what, JD? I was
Tell-
thinking about adding that in myself.
Yeah, where
And
you?
I didn't.
But
But like I said earlier, this is just a list of 3 alternate
That's right.
stories, not Armageddon, because Armageddon 2001 is one of my favorites.
it's
It's
It's good.
It's so many
we should tell the
different
people about.
alternate reality stories,
Yeah.
right? And they just so many of them still stand out in my mind. And let's talk about that for a while.
Yeah,
Okay.
let's have another show about it.
Let's do it.
Do you have any that you didn't?
Well,
Bring
I was just going to say,
Runners up.
You mentioned about The Nail by Alan
Mhm.
Davis, which definitely it's very good. It actually spawned a sequel.
Yeah,
They did
another Nail.
Another Nail.
Not as good.
But no, it's not.
And wanted to spawn a third one too.
Yeah,
I think.
yeah, but
Right?
they
You
were
mentioned
like,
that to
nah.
us, Len.
Yeah, they didn't want to do that, but they
They're like
didn't.
some of the stuff that was in the sequel might have been cooler if it had
Right.
more of the story.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if that didn't play a part in John Byrne, because he always wants to redo what everybody does.
Yeah.
Him doing Generations.
Generations was awesome. I forgot about it.
When it started,
The first one was awesome. The first run of it was awesome.
It ends on shit. But Alan Davis actually fell in love with the whole idea of doing like these, basically what if stories
Mm-hmm.
that then he does 2 in Marvel, because he does purports like to do the last story of both the Avengers
Oh, did he
and
do
the
the-
Fantastic
the
Four.
end
Right.
stories?
The end.
Yeah.
Those were some of those were very cool.
Yeah,
Some of those, the
they
end stories.
they-
yeah.
I wasn't into him. I
You
remember
could-
reading it because it was Alan Davis and be like,
because with Alan Davis, the art you can't knock,
so good.
but his writing is very up and down.
Yeah.
Did you guys ever read Big Town? Speaking of Marvel, it was a very underrated one where Reed Richards like used his intelligence to do things in the world rather than just
Yeah.
invent some crazy shit and then move on.
Yeah.
So he completely changes the Marvel universe.
Oh, that's neat.
that one was pretty cool. And Universe X. Why not talk about it? But I want to mention it. One of my all-time favorites.
It's one of the things about anytime I think about the super geniuses in the comic books.
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
These worlds would be completely different if those
Right.
dudes actually
Like
existed.
2 years later.
Yeah, no one,
maximum.
no one would die of cancer. Yeah,
Right.
Yeah, they'd
You'd have
cure
teleportation.
everything.
Except Mary J.
Except for Mary Jane
Yeah.
from all them ropes. All right. Thanks so much for hanging out with us. God damn it, Len. We'll talk at you later. I
Are
guess
you
that's
doing a Mary Jane over there? What's happening? Was he miming this?
was it throat cancer. Robert Monroe Jr.
You should be either ashamed or proud of yourself.
Yeah, you should be ashamed and proud of yourself. Thanks so much for hanging out with us, and we'll talk at you later.